Good morning, and welcome to another episode of the Recovery Report Live. I'm Matthew Sengsourinh, president of GlobalPro. We're coming to you today, of course, from the Griffin studio right here at the Nucleus Hub. GlobalPro, if you don't know, is your insurance coverage expert before, during, and after any loss or damage. The pedigree of our team, our extensive experience, and our unwavering advocacy for our policyholders has resulted in the recovery of over $1.2 billion over the past 11 and a half years. We truly believe that GlobalPro is uniquely qualified to represent over 1,400 community associations, hundreds of business owners, thousands of private clients and homeowners, and anyone that is backed by commercial paper and real property. Today, my friends, before I get to our guest, I have to tell you a little bit about him. But our incredible guest today, Mr. Daniel Tighe, Esquire, managing partner of Tighe P.A. And by the way, we have to look up when I get to you. I want to know all about P.A. because we had a whole discussion about it with my wife, who's also an attorney, about what that means. But for over a decade, Mr. Tighe has been a powerhouse in the first and third party claim world and other things with his practice. But for the most part, we know each other because of first and third party claims. Licensed in both Florida and New York. You know, everybody knows, the New Yorkers are in the house. He has a lifelong expertise, I would argue, for homeowners and commercial property insurance policies and claims. Mr. Tighe, much like us, represents a lot of community associations, homeowners, and again, business owners out there that have suffered loss or damage. And specifically today, we're going to talk about some of those policyholders that unfortunately have suffered loss and damage from severe natural disasters over the past couple of years. Mr. Tighe, however, just like the folks at GlobalPro, right, is not just an advocate. He's also a problem solver. He's emerged as a thought leader. He does a lot online, social media. If you see him on LinkedIn, I see him all over the place. He does a lot of webinars, a lot of teaching, a lot of educational events. He has an impressive track record to show not only of that, but also with his business and recovering for his clients. He's a growing force, and if you check out his website, you'll see he's got a lot of raving testimonials, and I think at the end we'll give you the website. I would implore you, please go check it out. Mr. Tighe is a very experienced gentleman in our world. We were just talking about David Beckham. I'd maybe draw a little correlation there. I think he's getting to that status. We'll see. He can certainly bend things like Beckham when it comes to insurance claims and things like that. But he's known for handling large losses, very complex losses, and he ensures that his clients are getting complete recoveries here after disasters occur. Before we dive into Mr. Tighe's background a little bit more with him, I always want to start off the show the same way. So let's give the kick check real quick. I want to make sure that everyone knows what's going on here, what's on our feet. I don't know. Can you get your leg up?
I think so.
I think Mr. Tighe's taller than me.
I've been practicing for this. So.
Let me see the yoga.
We got the white on white.
Oh, there we go. So me, I brought a little bit of heat. I was very anxious this morning. I woke up early just to make sure I had the right sneakers on. I didn't want to disappoint, but Mr. Michael Jordan himself, I think, gave you those. Is that what I hear?
Yeah. So they're just white on white ones. But when Jordan was first coming out with them, they gave a bunch of family and friends, like 40 boxes just to try them out, wear them around, see how they liked them. And I have a golf buddy who's friends with the GOAT himself, Michael Jordan.
All right.
And I got my hands on two pair. I got these white on whites, and I got a gray. Triple gray.
Best story ever.
And they got the pedigree on them, man.
Best story ever. So Mr. Tighe actually came down from Jupiter today. I appreciate the trip. I know it was a long trip down 95. And 95 is no joke down here, obviously, as you know. So thank you. You woke up early, came down here. You brought the heat and the great story behind it. But let's kind of dig in a little bit. I want to highlight you. I want to highlight your firm. Let's talk business. Tell us about your firm. Tell us about you. Give us expand on what I already discussed.
Sure. Now, first, I appreciate, the opportunity to come down here and chat with you. Obviously, we yuck it up as much as we can.
Yeah.
And always bringing the fire with the shoes and just having fun and living life. Appreciate you having me at this beautiful facility down here. This is awesome. We came in, we got girls and guys running around, prepping coffee, getting the mics, the studio just right. So
this is a professional thing here.
I'm impressed, man. So it's about a 2.5 hour drive. It's worth every minute.
Awesome.
Fighting through that Miami traffic, but
and then we're gonna go to Pastis for lunch. So I'll cap it off with a nice lunch too.
For those that follow me on social media, I eat. So when I told Matt, we were going to come down and do this, he's like, I got the right spot.
I brought the heat on the feet. we're gonna do the content now, and then we're gonna get pictures from Mama. Right?
That's life,
Awesome.
baby.
Okay, good. So tell us more about the company. Tell us about your firm.
Sure. So
I'm sure I didn't do you justice. So
listen, I don't know how you can top that sort of introduction, man. I don't know about bending insurance claims, but I'm going to try to figure it out. If it can be done, I'm the guy. But yeah, so I've been in business for over a decade here, really almost myopically focused on first-party property damage insurance claims here in the state of Florida, with a smaller practice up in New York. So this has been my focus, and we've seen the market go up and down and all around. Like, it's been a crazy decade, but more specifically since 2017 with Hurricane Irma, that's when the state really kind of jumped off with catastrophic claims. We hadn't really had a major hurricane. We had Hurricane Matthew in 2016, but that was a little more minor in terms of where it impacted. But 2017, Hurricane Irma hit, and that was the first mega storm we'd had in over a decade.
Since Wilma, really? I mean, Wilma was
2005.
If you want to talk about similar size, right? I mean, Wilma was, that was a long time.
And, so we learned a lot of lessons with that, and we'll kind of probably get into, if we're talking about Hurricane Ian, some of the lessons, one versus the other, and how the market's changed, the different ways contractors, adjusters, lawyers have reacted. Yeah. So looking forward to the discussion. We've been very fortunate. We've been able to help a lot of really great people. We've recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for clients, condo associations, warehouses, commercial properties, single-family homes. The lion's share of that has been tile roofing claims and association and large loss claims. But we've done everything. And, at the heart of the business, we're a smallish firm, right? We're not trying to be everything to everyone. At the heart of the business is me and my brain trust of, the people that have been with us for years. Yeah. And we want to help, we want to serve. And, that kind of shines through in a lot of what we do.
It does, certainly does. And we'll get into that in a second here. I want to talk all about culture and the process and all that. And that's, I want to get back to what you mentioned, though, about the hurricanes, the natural disasters, the big storms that have happened. It's crazy to think, because today when we talk to brokers and people on the insurance side of the industry, I should say, they talk about how hard the market is and this and that. And I would argue that after Irma, it was pretty similar, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't like this, obviously, right? So you made a comment before when we were discussing this that maybe there's a little overhang, maybe there's a little fatigue because of Irma, and we're dealing with the effects now, and they're just trying to compartmentalize that a little bit, which I don't think is being honest, I guess, is the best way for me to say it. So.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree, unfortunately. And of course, we can't help ourselves. Before we jumped on the live, we're already we already had about this
40-minute conversation. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the market is very tough right now. That's in response to a couple things, right? Number one is claim volume. Number two is the insolvencies that we've seen in the market. Number three is the reinsurance market kind of going through the roof, and those guys maybe are taking advantage a little bit of what's going on in this situation.
That's a whole nother episode we can talk about, right? Because that is something that is unfortunately is not talked about too much.
Well, and you guys are uniquely qualified too, because you help with some of the insurance placement, some of that really upfront stuff.
We can, yeah.
Traditionally, lawyers are kind of like, hey, we're a law firm, bang, 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 send us a case, we will do legal work. Yeah. I pride myself on being a little different. We always underscore that we're problem solvers, right? We don't have one tool in our toolkit where we're like, hey, we're a litigator, we're a lawyer, we must file suit. We're actually looking, we look at that too, depending on the situation, but we want to avoid that as well. We want to have a prompt, amicable solution for our client. We don't care if we go to litigation or not. If we can avoid it, it's done quicker with less stress for everybody. I prefer that, and that's just a reasonable position. Yeah. I don't know how we got there from the insurance market, but certainly we are seeing.
Well, that's one of the core complaints. If you look at, there's 3 or 4 complaints, which I can probably talk away 3 of the 4. The fourth one, though, is they do talk about litigation, but I don't think that it's again, I don't think it's being honest. It's not looking at the entire situation. And at the end of the day, we've said it several times, right? And you probably would agree. What they're complaining about when they talk about litigation being a driving force for these issues is having to pay prevailing fees. So if you have to pay prevailing fees, why didn't you just pay the claim? It doesn't make. But again, that's nobody wants to talk about that at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the insurance companies have such big marketing budgets, and they have such loud voices, and they're your good neighbor, they're your whatever. And I'm not anti-insurance company. We need a healthy, functioning insurance market, but we also need insurance companies that take care of their clients and fulfill the contractual promises that they've made.
Yeah.
That's a functioning market, and that's driven also by the mortgage market here in Florida.
Yeah,
you have to have a conforming insurance policy if you want a mortgage. So, someone whose insurance triples in a year, they still have to pay. They can't, unless they pay their house off, they've still got a mortgage commitment, or they'll go forced place or something, a worse alternative. So, it's a big quagmire. They've pointed to litigation and attorney's fees specifically as the reason for this, but I promise you, everyone out there watching, I don't have a single client who says, please sue the insurance company, even if I get what I want. No one wants to sue their insurance company. I'm a lawyer. I hire lawyers for different stuff, estate planning, this, that. Even me, I'm like, man, do I really need a lawyer? You look at that as the last resort, and not a single one of my clients says, I want to be in a dispute with my insurance company. I want to have to hire Dan, and I want to have to hire his team and go through this process. No one wants to do that. That's where they're forced by that insurance carrier who's made a determination, however they have, that doesn't conform with reality.
Right, so I think that's a great point, right? At the end of the day, it's because of a dispute. It's not because someone felt like it, right?
Correct.
There's a dispute, and you can blame it on probably a multitude of things, but ultimately there's a dispute because there's a dispute. Someone wasn't probably clear. They didn't articulate their position very, very, very well. And so, I would blame, again, it's David versus Goliath in my opinion. I blame the big bad beast on one side. They've given you a unilateral contract. It's a contract of adhesion. Mm-hmm. If you feel like you've done everything you're supposed to do and you've paid your premium for the required coverage, right, you're supposed to get paid for that. And I think that's where the dispute happens. And another point you just made, which I think also gets kind of swept under the rug, if you're issuing policies, if you're selling policies and you're paying a premium for a policy, whether you're a community association or a homeowner, and you're having to, and mostly on the commercial side, you're having to get appraisals today for your property and pay full value of your property that's probably never ever going to realize, the full value, or the TIV, the full value of your policy limits, unless your building falls off the slab, which is not going to happen, right? Hopefully it's not ever going to happen.
Of course.
It kind of, your premium is going to go up, right? Your premium is going to go up 3 and 4 times over the past 3.5 years, especially with all legislative changes. So
sure, and what I add to that conversation, I'm pretty involved with the American Policyholder Association. Shout out to Doug Quinn and the good people over there working hard to kind of balance the narrative. But the insurance companies, they don't give a fair narrative, right? They look from their perspective, and they've kind of sloppily put together the underwriting for the 10 years prior to Hurricane Irma.
Yep.
These were artificially low rates. And I say that as a Florida homeowner. I was paying way less than I probably should have for years. And again, in my estimation, right, this is just from the research I've done, it seems like what these insurers did was race to the bottom in terms of premium because they looked at the recency bias. They said, we haven't had a hurricane in the last 4 or 5 years. We're making all this money in terms of premiums. We're investing in a rip-roaring stock market. We're all getting rich. Now they want to get more of that pie. They don't say, well, hey, are we being shrewd about what risks we're taking on? They say no. They say, let's do another lizard commercial and gather more of the market, right? So, and it's incentives and it's human nature,
right.
But there was, and that's where you'd say, and again, the American Policyholder Association is trying to work with the state insurance department, OIR, and try to balance this, is you need guardrails.
Yep.
Otherwise, what they're doing is coming and taking those premiums, not properly risk pooling, which is how insurance started, what it's supposed to be,
right.
Not properly hanging on to that money, and not properly paying it back because they don't have it.
Right. So I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot, I know.
So now we've talked about that over several different episodes. I think that's a lot. If you understand all that, which we do, this is every day, we understand. You'd understand, how that really works, especially from an insurance perspective. One of the things that I talk about all the time, I grew up in Wall Street in my career. I worked for one of the largest in the world, asset management firms in the world. Early on in my career, one of my clients was the mutual insurance companies. I was tasked to go out and try to raise money and have them invest in our products, and that the entire balance sheet at a insurance company is based off of 2 things: right? It's profit and loss. So there's a couple ways to make profit. It's increasing premium dollars, right? Or they what they do is they take your premium and they put it on, their actuaries have all these tables. They go and try to make spread. They put it into what's called LDI, liability-based investing, right? Liability-driven investing, excuse me. All that stuff is laddered out: bonds, zero coupon bonds, high yield bonds. They're trying to take your dollar and make 8 to 10 to 12%, and then every dollar they can hold on to again gets reported on a quarterly basis to their shareholders. They're beholden to their shareholders. They lose money on overhead and they lose money on paying claims because they have to take money off the balance sheet and put it into reserve, and it sits there until it gets paid out, or they don't pay it out. So that's very simple. That's not my opinion. That's actual fact.
But even that's probably a little deeper analysis than the everyday homeowner would understand. But what you said is super important there is every dollar that they have, they've got that thing levered up
already.
So if they spend that dollar, they don't look at it as they lost a dollar. It's not. It's more than zero sum. They look at it as they lost that opportunity for that dollar to create more value that they have to return to shareholders.
It's the returns to the folks that they're beholden to that they're worried about.
Yep.
It's not unfortunately not your property, not your home.
And real quick, just wrap up on that. But like when you have that sort of situation, the market incentive is what it is, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But what is the entity that steps in and makes sure that greed isn't overrunning the public benefit? Right. That would be the government's role and job. And in Florida, my opinion is that they failed in that job. Yeah. And
especially the past 2 years. Especially the past 2 years have been pretty bad.
100%.
The pendulum swung way too far in our opinion. We've said it several times. They've tried to pull it back a little bit. An article, or I should say many articles came out, I don't know if you saw the past couple of days, but it's kind of in the media cycle now, where they basically did the analysis, and none of the steps they took over the past years have resulted in lower premiums, which everybody said from the beginning was not going to happen, right? So I think now, though, we have to get out of this situation where we have higher premiums that probably going to go up again in the next 12 months, the next renewal. We have lower limits of liability. Everything's laddered out, right? You have sublimits for everything. And then you have these deductibles that are, I can't tell you how many times I've sat in front of, especially after June 1st, I've sat in front of our boards, our associations, and we're reviewing their policies, helping them out, talking through things. And they have, $50,000, $100,000 water deductibles and 10% hurricane deductibles. You're effectively forcing these associations to self-insure, which is actually not in compliance with the 718 statute. So again, doesn't make any sense, but that's what we're living in right now.
And the one thing that you didn't mention too is you're paying more money for less coverage.
Yeah.
And you have less rights in the event you do have
a dispute.
Rights. You have less rights to
benefits.
Enforce your rights. So it's a tough market. We're happy to be able to try to shepherd our clients and the people that do business with us. We try to shepherd them through it, but this is kind of bigger market forces right now. And the only thing that we can do, which I'm very proactive, I'm trying to be a loud voice in trying to balance that narrative so that they can't wag the dog and just say, oh, there's fraud. If there's fraud, hey, guess what? That's a crime. Prosecute it.
Yeah, we would agree.
Couldn't wish more people went to jail for insurance fraud.
Clean it up, 100%. Clean it up. We totally agree. This is something that again doesn't get talked about. You get these allegations by the one side who has the loudest voice, obviously, and that's what people hear, unfortunately, right? And so actually, when you go back and look. There's hundreds of thousands of complaints over the past 7 years as they did a look back, and 97% of them, something like that, I can get you the actual stats, were against insurers, against insurance companies.
It's not surprising,
right? Yeah. I think only 1% of them were against PAs. I think it was the lowest number possible.
It's not surprising.
And so not very many attorney complaints in there either, right? Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense with this narrative that they have, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So interesting. Let's talk a little bit more about the trends, some of the things you saw after Hurricane Ian. Let's fast forward this conversation a little bit. With all that being said, we just passed the year anniversary. We were trying to make sure we reminded everyone, hey, the new amendment to the statute says you have a year. Your policy was probably enforced before that. Obviously, the hurricane was before that. So you have 2 years. But these changes are really mounting.
Argued, but I agree with that.
Right. But you can't go retro, right? You can't. It is what it is. Yes, but it will be argued, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, but that actually brings me back to the point that you made before. I would argue then they need you and us more than ever now, these insurers. This is very hard to navigate. So, but let's talk about those trends. What do you see now? How much harder is it for the policyholders today to get indemnified?
Yeah, I mean it's not, I hate to say it, and I don't think that I'm exaggerating. It's night and day.
Yeah.
Early on in Hurricane Irma, these insurance companies, they'd have in-house claims teams and adjusters, and they do the work. Then they moved more to this, more heavily relying on third parties, where it was kind of like, I don't know, the third party said this. And they would pay claims that they legitimately owed, and they pay them quickly and fairly.
Yeah.
Then they ran out of money. Well, they ran out of money because they didn't have claim reserves in the appropriate amount, because they didn't charge enough premiums, all the things that we had just talked about. So the beginning of Irma, they were paying out a ton of money, and in some cases, just writing checks. Maybe they were paying too much. That's on they need to figure that out, of course. If those are their allegations, right? That's no one's saying they should. But what we saw was probably 2.5 years after Hurricane Irma, maybe a little, maybe closer to 2 years, it was an abrupt change in how they treated people who made claims.
1920, yeah.
It went from, hey, let's work it out, let's figure it out. Hey, you have a roofing contractor working with you, a PA, an attorney, whatever. Hey, cool, let's figure out the numbers and let's move along. There was an abrupt change where they said, hey, we're out of money. Deal with our reinsurance layers. Like, come on, we can't be bothered with this stuff. Engineer on every tile roof. They would hire an engineer
for everything.
To try to shut everything down.
For everything.
And what happened was, now coming to the present, Hurricane Ian, we had a lot of people who were super, on our side, excited to help people, right? Come down, mobilize teams to help people rebuild. And what they thought was it was going to be like early Hurricane Irma.
Yeah.
What it really was just an extension of that long tail Irma fight is what they encountered. And of course, ultimately, the losers aren't guys like you and I. Ultimately, the losers are the policyholders.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day, yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, no, you're right. You put that into great context. We haven't talked about that yet in that context, but it has been really the past 3.5 years, we'll call it, right? At the end of the day, that the sea change. Now we're dealing with the ramifications of that. We haven't even gone to the legislative changes on top of that, which swung the pendulum way, way, way to the other side, unfortunately. But that's going to be probably the next 12 to 18 months. We're going to see the ramifications of all of that, come to fruition here. So interesting. So let's talk about go back to your business, go back to the company,
Sure.
right, and talk about that, because that's a lot to deal with. And again, I bring up the point that today policyholders probably need representation more than ever, and it's almost a product of everything that's happened, unfortunately. And if the insurance companies are going to complain about having to defend themselves more, and then they're going to charge that and trickle it down to premiums, okay, well then you should go get every penny that you're legally owed, right? And so tell us about the company. Tell us how you take the issues that we just discussed, the obstacles out there for policyholders and getting results. How does that trickle down into the business, the process, the culture? Let's get into the business side of things. So tell me about the culture at your company, then kind of get into how that fleshes out in processes and then results.
Cool. Yeah. So we've been doing this a long time. So we've assembled a good team of like-minded individuals, and we start with our values and we start with our culture. When I talk about business, and I have the privilege of helping a lot of adjusters and a lot of roofing and other contractors kind of, tighten up business practices, make sure that they're, working within the law and all that stuff. That's kind of an ancillary part of what I do on the claims side. And what I talk about with everybody is, business is process and culture. And what I mean by that is process. What actual steps are we taking to get our desired outcomes, our desired results?
Right.
That's process. Now, that's great. What you should do, if you do a lot of something, you should get pretty good at it.
Yeah.
You should know the different outcomes, and you should have staged processes that you have accountability baked in.
Right.
And you've tried it all. And that to me isn't easy, but it's a simpler part. Now, culture is how do you do it? How do you run those processes? What's the state of mind? What's the soft aspects, right? Who do you have in these positions? Do they make that extra phone call? Do they really care? Are they invested in the success of this association? Do they make the extra call not just to the property manager, but also to the 2 board members, so that when they have that next board meeting, they're not hiding in the elevator from the other unit owners because they don't know what's going on?
Yeah.
So that's the smart approach that we take, is we combine that, and that's really our secret sauce, as it were, is we've got processes that are honed over years and thousands of successful recoveries, right? And we also have the right people running those with the right mindset, the right values, which we collectively term our culture, is the way we go about doing those processes.
That's a great way to describe. I love that, and we talk about that a lot here at GlobalPro. Obviously, our core values, our focus, our mission, what we're all working together and working towards, right? And so, going back to what you just mentioned, I think the intangibles, we'll call it maybe, or the soft tangibles, however you word it, I think is important, because that's, for me, when I look at business and I look at managing and leading a team, that's the hardest part, right? We have processes in place. You have to be process driven or process oriented, to a degree. But this business can't be formulaic. You can try things and get an understanding and have an idea of what's supposed to happen at a certain point and have a process to drive people to that place. But there still is that little extra effort that you mentioned. Did you make an extra call? Did you send an extra email? Did you sit there for one extra minute and say, before I call someone and ask a question, did I get to the answer some other way? Mm-hmm. And that's the intangible. That's the stuff that, again, processes and then culture breeds success on that front, in my opinion. So definitely. I think you'd agree. I mean, that's what I see in the stuff that you talk about and what you
and that's a lot of what I talk about online and social media. I'm passionate about two things, right? Helping people, and then helping people grow minds, like helping our clients, helping people, and then hopefully providing either some inspiration or maybe that, uplifting quote that you wanted to see, or maybe just a way that I've approached things that's been successful for me. I'm no guru. I don't know more than anybody. I do take time to read a lot. I do invest in that. I consider myself a thoughtful guy, but I'm a humble servant of everyone I can. I don't approach it, that I'm doling out wisdom. Hell no, the exact opposite of that. What I'm doing is sharing wisdom that someone else shared with me so that I can hopefully add value and make someone else's life better.
I love that. We're fast friends, obviously, since we met, backpack boys, of course, and then I follow you on your socials, obviously, and you know me, I'm always commenting on the latest and greatest book excerpt. I'm like, man, I don't need to read. I need to follow Dan. That's it. I can get a whole suite of ideas here and philosophical quotes and things like that. I love it. So that's obviously it's you've kind of manifested that into this process-driven business and culture-driven business. We agree with that completely. So let's talk about what's next now. So we've established, the business, decade plus, a lot of success. You have processes, you have culture in place. I also know that you're a planner, right? We're a planner. So what is the plan? What is the next 1 to 3 years, short term? And then tell me 5 to 10. What other projects are you working on? Tell me what's going on next.
Yeah, and we can't reveal everything,
of course,
obviously. But what we've done is we kind of pulled back to move forward. So we did a lot more residential in prior storms and prior situations. What we wanted to do was kind of create more of a concierge service and more of a high level of service business. And law firms are service businesses, but the lawyers sometimes forget that. And especially if you're doing contingency, the way that you're earning your fees, you're not charging as you go, you're earning a portion on the back end, commensurate with whatever your agreement is. And this is a conversation we had a little earlier. People don't see, if you're a traditional, I guess a settlement mill, for lack of a better word, and there's plenty of them out there, trying to get claims or whatever, they want to do as little service work as possible for their fixed percentage. Yeah. That may work in some situations for certain clients who don't care. Yeah. But if you're talking about, again, we do a lot of association work, which is where we've kind of found we're very passionate about. When I have the call with the board or about what we do and how we do it and the processes and the culture, and I get into all this because I want them to know who we are and what we do. And I want them to hold me to that. I'm cool with that because I want to bring it. If I'm not, call me, text me, let's go. Yeah. What we do is we want to make sure that we're getting them those extras, the soft touch points, the updates. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't want these people to be hiding in the hallways from the other residents because they don't know what's going on. It's been 6 months and they can't even get a call back from the lawyer.
That's a great point.
Much to the opposite with the way that we do things. We're proactive with updates, and we were talking about it earlier. How can you do that at scale, and how can you make sure that people are getting a consistent experience and that they're understanding the process as you go through it? We use video updates. So if we have, for example, a notice of intent to initiate litigation is required prior to filing a lawsuit here in Florida based on one of these lovely law changes. And we're
Gives
all
them,
for it.
gives them another 10 days to just waste everybody's time.
It does.
Right?
At least, though, it gets them to the table, right? Because,
Yeah.
that's a notorious problem.
They know the hammer's coming. So.
But if I just sent that to, Mary Sue, who's on the board at XYZ condo, she's going to say, what is it? Immediately, hey, you sent me something out, what is this, whatever. But what if, right, in the alternative universe, the universe I live in, what if they got a video with me smiling, walking them through what it means for their specific claim, where that fits in the overall context of what the process we're running to get them the result that they deserve? They don't call. They don't. Well, these people want to be, for Myers, they want to be on the beach. They don't want to be calling their lawyer.
They can watch the video as many times as they want until they digest it, they understand, they comprehend what's going on. Yeah, no, I love it. That's a great idea and something that I'm going to hopefully be able to add to our process.
I'll help you, man. Let's do it.
I love it. Speaking of which, we were talking about all the AI software that's out there to help with some of the stuff, save a lot of time on some of the stuff. So it's more readily available, and you can save time doing it. And if the goal is to get to that place, then and you can save time, there's no reason, right?
And you're working with leverage. Yeah. And again, going back to, we're not saying like our fees are X, let's do as little as possible so we make as much money for us. Yeah. What I'm saying is our fees are X. How much positive service and how much benefit can I create for that client for that amount, right? So it's kind of the opposite of the mill effect. The happiest thing that happens to me is I get a call from someone's neighbor, or the condo, I was walking on the beach and I spoke to Mary Sue, who's our same lovely board member, Mary Sue at XYZ condo, and she said that you had really helped counsel them and that they're very comfortable. Yeah. They don't have their money yet, but they're very comfortable and that you're really proactive. Like, how does this work? Yeah. And I just light up because I'm like, we're giving them an 11 out of 10 service where they're actually going to other people and saying, hey, you have this similar problem. Let me get you my guy. He's going to take care of it for you.
Yeah, word of mouth, obviously, word of mouth is a big deal. It's what we live and die on, right? So it is a big deal. You can't win them all. Unfortunately. And I think a lot of the times we were talking about this before. It's if the client, the association, the homeowner, whomever, if they don't understand how we work, meaning on a contingency basis, oftentimes it's very difficult. I should say it's not out of the ordinary, but it gets very difficult. Especially if you have a model, especially if you have a process and you're going through that process, and sometimes they're just very needy. Sometimes they just need to talk to somebody at all times of the day. It is what it is, but that starts to get hard when you're doing as much work talking to the client as you are in the claim, when you can spend all that time and energy on that. And that's the stuff we deal with, and we try to manage through and create processes around and do all that. That's what the culture is for, right? That drives that.
You nailed it. That's the culture is if you build that trust and rapport early in the relationship, if they haven't heard from someone in 36 hours, in a process that we've set the expectations it's going to take months, then you haven't set those expectations well enough. So maybe you need to circle back, and maybe you do need to take, a half hour for you, Matt, the president of the organization. You need to actually spend that 30 seconds on the call or 3 minutes or whatever, and I know you do this, and you make them comfortable. Yeah. Hey, listen, one of the things too, just segueing in, we have a 5-star intake service, we call it, right? That experience, right? Get out the white gloves. Like, we want our clients to be comfortable and confident. And what I mean by that is comfortable. Do you understand what we're doing? Do you understand why you're in this position, right? Do you understand how this process is going to roll out? If you don't understand that, well, we can't move on. We need you comfortable.
We need you to
Second, so that's literally the intake team, my client service team, is going to ask them at the end of the call, are you comfortable and are you confident? Confident. Are you confident that Tighe P.A. is the right firm to move forward with? Do you do we need to kind of build that trust a little more? Are you confident that when you call, we're going to pick up the phone, or we're going to have you set an appointment with whoever you need to? Are you confident? So we want our clients are comfortable and confident. We have the best clients in the world.
Yeah, you're getting them to be awesome. You're getting them to buy in too, right? At the end of the day, it's you're on the same page. I love that. Yeah. So we'll definitely expand on that more, separately here. I would love to hear more about all that stuff. We have our processes. It's not. I'm a student of the game though. Like you're never going to know enough information. It's impossible, right? You're never going to know more than enough information, or however you want to describe it, right? So I love that. So we'll talk about that a little more. So great. So lots coming down the road. Obviously, lots to build upon on the process and culture side clearly, and And we didn't get into the projects that are upcoming. I know you got something cooking. I know
well,
it.
And we'll talk just some expansion, some lateral geographical, and some other expansion stuff. Just bringing the services we have and opening that funnel to some ancillary business and then some geographic diversity.
Love it. So we'll have you back on when some of that stuff starts to come to fruition. Sure. You want to promote and launch it. Obviously come back anytime. So let's get back into some of the fun stuff here too. We had our kick check, but I mentioned before Backpack Boys where my Dan, GlobalPro Dan, always he always breaks my balls about my backpack that I have on because that's how I do things. When we met, you had your backpack on. It is what it is. I think that it was meant to be, right?
Well, and I remember it well because Dan starts looking. He's like, "Oh, you wear a backpack too." I go, and you remember what I said, right? What did I say? I had the backpack on. What did I say?
Yeah. Backpack boys always get it done.
Hey, and we got more hands to sign deals.
Oh, that's right. We have more hands to sign deals. That's right. Backpack boys get it done, and we have more hands. We have free hands to sign deals.
Free hands, exactly. I'm not carrying a briefcase.
That's right. I love it. So that was great. We had pho. We went out and ate soup. That was good up in Orlando. I already talked about before. The excerpts, you have these you take the pictures of the books you're reading, you highlight them, stuff like that. I love that. I'm always following, that. I always like those pictures. But tell us about one of my favorite stories you told me was about the reason behind all the pictures of the food that you're eating. So I want everyone to know about that.
Yeah, all right, you got to bring it up. So I'm a bit of a softie. I'm a family guy, and I'm the youngest of 9 in like a blended family situation. But I'm close to my parents, and they're both healthy and happy, and significantly older than I am, and I help take care of them, love them to death. But what happened was when I first started traveling for this job, as you know, a lot of the times you're on the road, right? I have to be there in front of the board if we're going to do their $10 million restoration project, and I would expect the same, so totally great. Especially before we had all this great technology, I'd be meeting with people all the time. Yeah. And I had a place in Orlando and Winter Park, a home and office there, down in Naples at Tiburon, great community down there, and then over at my home in Jupiter. And, prior to that, I wasn't traveling so much, so I'd get to check in. We'd have those Sunday family dinners or whatever it was. Once I was really hustling on the road, we had Hurricane Irma. We had so many people to help, so little time. So now I'm just flying around the state, just doing my thing as a young businessman. And, my mom would come, she'd say, "Hey, are you all right? What's going on? Like, where are you?" And I'm like, "Mom, I'm busy. Love you to death, but... don't worry, everything's cool." She's like, "All right, you eating all right?" And I'm like, "Mom, I'm eating all right." So I'd fire off like, a nice, kind of like a nicely styled food picture, so that my mom could see it. She would know.
Food selection on the iPhone.
Yeah, so she always knew that I was eating good, and if you're eating good, you're living good. And I love that's the story behind that. Now I get a bunch of people who follow and comment, and now it's a little community about it. So it's been a lot of fun.
I love it. I think that says a lot about who you are. So I love that. I love that very much. So, and then finally, of course, I'm not going to let you go without talking about tennis a little bit. You're getting your game ready. You're getting going.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So shout out to Vahid, my tennis pro, and he's become a good friend of mine. But we took it up. My fiance, we're getting married in December.
Hey,
my
congrats.
fiance and I, we moved in a new club, and she got asked. She's young and athletic, and got asked by someone like, "Hey, you want to join the tennis team?" She never really played tennis before, but she took an interest. So I went out to hit with her too, and I had played tennis in the past, and just kind of forgot that I had this love for athletic competition.
Yeah, of course.
So now I've dove in full speed, having a ton of fun with it. I can get a great workout in with a buddy, have a lot of fun, and still get to the office nice and early.
Love it.
Sometimes golf takes too long.
So we have a family friend here at GlobalPro who's an old attorney, did very well for himself in life, the deal guy, as an attorney, and he had some big deals in his career. And the funny thing is that when you call him and you say, I don't want to say his name, "Hey, where are you? What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm in court." Right? He's an attorney. "I'm in court." But we know that means he's playing tennis. So
I gotta write that down.
One thing to take away from today, right? When someone calls you, "Yeah, I'm in court. What's up?"
So that's amazing. Yeah, as long as they don't hear the hits behind you. But
you got to be careful about that.
That's good.
So hopefully I can get up there and get me back out. I haven't played in a while. I'll tell you the story about that one day. But I played tennis my whole life. So it just believe it or not, as big as I am, I got good feet. So we'll have to come. I'll have to come up and visit you now, and we'll go hit, right? So, all right, great. I appreciate it that we went long. We went real long today. I mean, you and I could probably talk all day, but
and we will.
we went really long today, but let me just reach out to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Daniel Esquire, the other Dan, right? Not Dan GlobalPro, the other Dan. You took a long trip to come down here. I really appreciate it. We're gonna go have lunch and have a nice lunch today before you get back up there. I think we brought great content today. definitely the heat on the feet came out, obviously. So I can't thank you enough. This was really, really good. Before we go, why don't you give everybody the best way to contact you? So social,
Sure.
LinkedIn, website, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, great. I mean, the easiest way is, find us on social. My last name, Tighe, is Tighe. If you search for that on social media, by now I should be the first thing coming up under that after years of all this post and work. You can visit us at TighePA.com, TIGHE.PA.com. I'm sure we'll include all the links. And then on socials, Tighe P.A. Law Firm on Instagram. And 855-LOSS-PRO if you want to go analog with
that's
it.
a good one.
So, invite you to reach out. We do a lot of work that's not just claim stuff. And what I mean by that is just advisory or people have questions.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to lend some time to people who need it.
I love that. We have a number 2. I never describe that. Ours means something too, but we'll get that. But yes, we'll have all of the information in the caption, linked up and everything. Of course, follow him on social, follow him on LinkedIn if you can, connect with him, engage him, give him a call. Just like us, I'm sure if you call him and you have some issues you want to talk through, he's happy to help you out and talk through it and get you to a place where you can make a decision whether you need to retain him and have him be your guy, or if you have enough information and confidence to go take care of it, I'm sure he'll help you get there. So thank you, my man. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you very much. We're gonna wrap this up today. Thank you again from all of us here at GlobalPro. Again, don't forget to subscribe, follow us on social media, connect with us on LinkedIn as well. Like our posts and videos, please. The more you do that, the more the algorithm picks it up. It's beneficial for both of us, obviously here. But make sure you help out if you can. Don't miss us next week, same time, same channel. Wednesdays. Wow, I've done this for how long? On Wednesday, Thursdays at 11 a.m. right here at the Nucleus Hub at GlobalPro. See you soon. Take care. Thank you very much.